Hi, this is Darcy. Welcome to my channel. I'm here to study the Bible and look at things from a Hebraic perspective. Hopefully this will deepen and enrich your understanding of the Bible and also deepen your relationship with God. Hi friends, I don't know if you've ever had experiences where you've been fast asleep and then you wake up and then something hits you. It's like a revelation from God. So anyways, that's basically what happened to me. It's about a little after 4 o'clock in the morning and I woke up and something hit me. The funny thing is when I actually do this video in reference to the book of Revelation, this will be way after I do any of the other videos before this, but it's one of those things where I decided better wake up, better at least run a comb through my hair, put my glasses on, and try to get into this while it's still fresh in my brain. So I'm going to read through Revelation chapter 17, chapter 18. So let's begin in chapter 17, verse 1. Then one of the angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk." And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the impurities of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes, and of earth's abominations. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I marveled greatly. But the angel said to me, "Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was and is not and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. And the dwellers on earth whose names had not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world will marvel to see the beast, because it was and is not and is to come. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. They are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, the other has not yet come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while. As for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7th, and it goes to destruction. And the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received royal power, but they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour together with the beast. These are of one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast. They will make war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those with him are called, chosen, and faithful. And the angel said to me, "The waters that you saw where the prostitute is seated are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw, they and the beast will hate the prostitute. They will make her desolate and naked, and devour her flesh, and burn her up with fire. For God has put into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being one mind and handing over their royal power to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman that you saw is the great city that has dominion over the king." And 18. After this I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was made bright with his glory. And he cried out with a mighty voice, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every clean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable beast. For all nations have drunk the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality, and the kings of the earth have committed immorality with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich from the power of her luxurious living. Then I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you take part in her sins, lest you share in her plagues, for her sins are heaped high as heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Pay her back as she herself has paid back others, and repay her double for her deeds. Mix a double portion for her in the cup she's mixed. As she glorified herself and lived in luxury, so give her a like measure of torment and mourning. Since in her heart she says, I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and mourning I shall never see. For the reason her plagues will come in a single day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be burned up with fire, for the mighty is the Lord God who has judged her. And the kings of the earth who committed sexual immorality and lived in luxury with her will weep and wail over her when they see the smoke of her burning. They will stand far off in fear of her torment and say, Alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city Babylon, for in a single hour your judgment has come, and the merchants of the earth weep and mourn for her, since no one buys their cargo any more. Cargoes of gold, silver, jewels, pearls, fine linen, purple cloth, silk, scarlet cloth, all kinds of scented wood, all kinds of articles of ivory, all kinds of articles of costly wood, bronze, iron, and marble. Cinnamon, spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, oil, fine flour, wheat, cattle, and sheep, horses and chariots and slaves, that is, human souls. The fruit for which your soul longed for has gone from you, and all your delicacies and your splendors are lost to you, never to be found again. The merchants of these wares who gained wealth from her will stand far off in fear of her torment, weeping and mourning aloud. Alas, alas, for the great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, adorned with gold, with jewels and with pearls. For in a single hour all this wealth has been laid waste. All the shipmasters and seafaring men, sailors, and all those who trade on the sea stood far off and cried out as they saw the smoke of her burning. What city was like the great city? As they threw out dust on their heads, as they wept and mourned, crying out, Alas, alas, for the great city, where all who have ships at sea grew rich by her wealth, for in a single hour she has been laid waste. Rejoice over her, O heaven, and you saints and apostles and prophets, for God has given judgment for you against her. Then a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, So will Babylon, the great city, be thrown down with violence and will be found no more. And the sound of harpists and musicians, of flute players and trumpeters will be heard in you no more, and a craftsman of any craft will be found in you no more. And the sound of the mill will be heard in you no more, and the light of a lamp will shine in you no more, and the voice of the bridegroom and bride will be heard in you no more. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth, and all nations were deceived by your sorcery, and in her was found the blood of the prophets and of the saints, and all who have been slain. So before I continue on, I want to get back to chapter 17. And I think it did kind of talk about where, John saw the vision, and he did see the kingdoms that kind of came before and after. And of course, this refers back to the prophet Daniel. And the kingdom that John was in at that time was, in fact, Rome. The seventh kingdom that is to come, I believe, will be a one world government. As far as where it's going to be housed or the capital, I think that is yet to be seen. But it does also relate back to Daniel's vision of the statue. And of course, the prophet Daniel in chapter 2 spoke of a statue, which was of the great image of Nebuchadnezzar, and the bottom, the feet were kind of a mixture of potter's clay and partly iron, being a divided kingdom. I think that ties into this chapter as well and gets into this final Antichrist kingdom, which may be divided, but at the same time has some sort of commonality at it. So there's other aspects of Daniel that tie into the book of Revelation that I can kind of expound upon at a later date. Now, I have heard so many different interpretations of who the great prostitute is, who this mystery Babylon is. I've heard people say, well, let's see, it's the Roman Catholic Church, or it's America, or, it's literally people. Like, I think there was a pastor a while ago that was convinced that Mystery Babylon was probably Hillary Clinton, and kind of wrapped her up into some occult rituals, that she was born about the same time that Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley were doing all their little occult rituals, and out of that was born a specific woman, the Hilaron, which he was convinced it was Hillary Rodham Clinton, I think, during the last presidential election. God rest his soul. Rest in peace, certain pastor. But anyway, another person recently, I saw another televangelist online. They're convinced it's got to be Kamala Harris. She has to be this prostitute, this beast. And so, the more I've studied this, and like I said, I woke up just now, and a thought kind of came to mind. If you look back to Revelation chapter 12, and we talk about a sign in heaven of a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars. There's a lot of pastors that believe that this is representation of Israel. And then, of course, the great red dragon is, Satan, the beast, attacking Israel. So if the woman in Revelation 12 is representative of Israel, or the people of God, the people that God has chosen, and maybe Israel is representative of a country, I'm going to say that I believe that when it comes to Mystery Babylon, I kind of feel like this goes to a specific system. And could it be representation? I mean, America has fallen quite far away. I mean, if you had to pick nation against nation, maybe, it is Israel and the United States. But I'm going to say this goes much deeper than that. If we go all the way back to the beginning of Genesis and the garden with the serpent, I'm going to say that right there was the start of Mystery Babylon. And the entity, the spiritual entity being the serpent, and whether or not that be Hasatan or we know him as the Satan or the adversary, or the cherub that fell from heaven that was adorned with all the jewels. If you're kind of looking at another passage in Ezekiel, but the whole thing here is it kind of stems from that, and then it goes to Genesis chapter 6, where we have the sons of men, and there's been arguments of whether or not, they're the sons of Seth, or no, they're the B'nai Elohim, or the angels. I'm personally, it's an angel view, and I take that basically because of other supplemental texts that fall outside of the Bible that were written by Jews back in the day that were never included in our modern Bible. And I'm talking like the Book of Enoch, or the Genesis Apocryphon, or anything that they found at the Dead Sea Scrolls. We're talking Book of Jubilees, Book of Jasher, any of those things, that they found that collaborate this idea that there were, we'll say, a sect of angels that were very much jealous over the creation of man when God created man, that they decided to rebel, and they decided that they were going to be little Elohim. So, yeah, you want to talk about Mystery Babylon. Mystery Babylon is the paganism that was born out of that, where man worshiped these fallen angels, that they become entities of, we'll say, Sumerian religion, Mesopotamian religion, Egyptian religion, Greek religion, Roman religion, any type of pagan religious system, because these entities, they have similar names and personalities. Their names, similar personalities. Let me backtrack. Not necessarily similar names. The names change. That's what I meant to say. The names change, but the personalities, the entities themselves, stay the same as they get transferred from culture to culture to culture to culture. And so I really feel that Mystery Babylon, is this particular pagan religious system that is anti-Yahweh. And, it goes into the fact that, this system, was in the past, it is, fallen. It is, but then it comes back in the future. And having the mindset here of, or was it? This calls for mind of wisdom. Who this is? That this is the beast that was and it is not. It's an eighth, but it belongs to seventh, and it goes on to destruction. Everything here. Is it a specific kingdom? Well, kind of yes, because when Daniel spoke of Babylon, what were the Babylonians doing at that time? Who were they worshiping at that time? They were worshiping these same fallen angel entities and their offspring, and doing all sorts of, bizarre sexual things with them, and sort of some sort of religious sex acts. This has been the thing from the beginning. Same thing with Israel. When Israel prostituted against God, what were they doing? They were worshiping these fallen entities, engaging in, temple worship with temple prostitutes, and killing a bunch of kids and throwing them in the Valley of Hinnom, the whole thing. So the same thing hasn't changed today. This is the same system. Are elements of it in the Roman Catholic Church? Yes. Are elements of it in the Protestant churches? I'm going to say yes. There are elements of it even in modern Christianity. There's parts of modern Christianity that are not biblical Christianity. We have fallen into some of this stuff, unknowingly. Well, I'm going to say we are unknowing of it, modern Christians. But back in the day, I guarantee the church was infiltrated with some of these people that were still very much aligned with their pagan gods, and they corrupted what the early church fathers attempted to establish with the church. And it has infiltrated and it has corrupted how we view and see Jesus or Yeshua today, or how we go about our worship of Yeshua today in the church. I'm just going to be that real. And I know I'm going to offend some Christians, and at this point, I really don't care. I'm going to speak truth to you, because the reality is God never gave up on his law. He never discarded his law. Jesus did not come to completely fulfill the law and discard it. That was not. Jesus did come to fulfill the law. He fulfilled the part of the law that we don't have to go around killing, sheep and goats and stuff to atone for our sin. We don't have to do that, because that was never the fulfilled part of the law. God was using the lamb or the goats or the things to attempt to, those types of sacrifices. He was using those sacrifices, the blood to cover the sin. And it was a precursor of who Christ was going to be, that he was going to be the ultimate blood sacrifice for our sin. So, did the rest of the law get done away with? Well, it's hard to kind of do certain aspects of the law when there's no longer a Jewish temple sitting on the Temple Mount. But as far as the heart of the law, the heart of the law, those are things we can still do today. And those are things that I feel like the church has fallen away from. If you look at Leviticus 23, it talks about this feast. And those weren't temporary measures or things that are just for the Jews. Those were for God's people for all of time. And if you look at towards, the prophets, guess what? I want to say, let me reference something here before I misspeak, because I'm okay. I'm going to say, that's where is it? Okay, I want to say, let's see, names. I'm looking. Where is it? Okay. Okay, so yeah, so here I am looking at Zechariah 14. And when Yeshua comes back and he is going to have his millennial reign, he says, everyone who survives of all the nations that come against Jerusalem shall go up year after year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Booths. Now, those of you in Christendom that have no idea what the Feast of Booths is because you've never picked up your Old Testament, let me tell you. The Feast of Booths is the Feast of Ingathering, or the Feast of Tabernacles in the fall. and it is a picture of the millennial reign of Christ, when God will once again tabernacle with his people. And that is what that, relates to. So I think the modern church, we are missing the boat. We should still be celebrating God's feast, not no Christmas or Easter or things that are based off of pagan holidays. No, Halloween or All Saints Day, none of that, because I'm going to say all of that is infiltrated by Mystery Babylon or the beast. We need to be worshiping God's calendar, what he established in the beginning. So getting back to this Mystery Babylon, I really feel like this is a antichrist occultic system, and it has infiltrated everything. Like I said, Roman Catholic Church, Protestant Church, it has even influenced modern rabbinical Judaism, with some of the Jewish mystical, spiritual practices that they do in Kabbalah. It is what it is. And I'm going to say it has infiltrated America. It is our deep state. It is Jeffrey Epstein. It is the sex trafficking that goes on to Hollywood or Washington, D.C. It is the blatant pagan images we see every time we sit down and watch a Super Bowl and watch the halftime show. And you kind of wonder, well, what was that? That was weird. It is the opening ceremony to the Olympics this past year. It is the ceremony they did for the Hadron Collider in Europe. All of those weird things with these creatures or whatever. Oh, this is their culture, blah, 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 blah. No. Let's just call it what it is. It is Satan worship. It is the occult. And you want to know what Mystery Babylon is? It is this Satan worship occult element where they are worshiping something other than Yahweh, the Lord of Lords, God of gods, the one who is above all of these little spiritual entities. That is what Mystery Babylon is. Is it represented possibly by people? Well, I do think that there are certain people, unfortunately, certain politicians, and, I could go over the aforementioned names I've already mentioned, where they, I think, have taken on elements of this Mystery Babylon system because of certain political views that I think are just very anti-Yahweh. I'm sorry. I know I have friends on here that are going to say, well, my body, my choice. Great. You want to think that is true. That's wonderful. However, I'm just going to say, when you get pregnant and you have another entity living inside of you, another, if you don't want to think it's a human, it is. At conception, life is given. It is a baby. And if you feel like it's your body, your choice, and you do not want to keep a child and you want to go ahead and practice abortion or whatever, I'm going to say that is part of this Mystery Babylon lie that people have swallowed. Because the reality is, it is no different than the temple prostitutes back in the day of Israel when they were rebelling against God, that would do their sex acts as part of their worship to their God. And then those unwanted babies were basically slaughtered and thrown into the valley of Hinnom, outside the walls, outside of the city, and were basically butchered in the sake of their God. How much child sacrifice occurs today through child trafficking or sex trafficking to their God? We've seen the videos that seem off the wall with the androchron, and they're drinking the blood of these babies because it's like a fountain of youth to these people. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that's some wonky conspiracy theory out there. Believe me, I've read and dug every single deep hole on the internet on every single wonky conspiracy theory out there. If you do it for a while, it's going to make you depressed. You're going to get so far down the rabbit hole, you're not going to know how to climb yourself back up out of it. Honestly, I feel like that's why some of these prophets were depressed. But anyway, in the Bible. But it gets to the point where a lot of this stuff, some of the conspiracy theories are really wonky, but I think there's some validity to some of them. I do believe that there is a satanic system ruling this world. I do believe that the mystery 10 kings on the earth, the ones that, don't have a kingdom but do. I honestly feel like that is the you just look at who has the most money in this world, and I guarantee you that's your list of 10 kings right there. Because whoever controls the money controls the government. Wasn't that something that a Rothschild said when they were like trying to set up these central banks? But anyways, I digress. But I kind of feel like there you go. Those are your mystery 10 kings right there. And as far as the 7 mountains, well, there are 7 continents. This thing is all over the earth. And could it possibly be, let's say, Rome sits on 7 hills, or Jerusalem sits on 7 hills, or, it's maybe Hollywood sits on 7 hills. I mean, I'm certain you can kind of elaborate or stretch or make it fit to any of those things. And the thing is, in all actuality, all of it's true to a certain degree. Not all of Jerusalem is satanic. Not all of the Roman Catholic Church is satanic. Not all of America is satanic. And certainly not all of the world is satanic. I think a lot of this is a lot of allegory, but it is certain allusions or pictures that are pointing to specific things. And I really feel like Mystery Babylon is this occult system that has infiltrated every single part of the world, whether it be the government, whether it be religion, whether it be the entertainment industry, whether it be some backyard Yahoo sitting there building up his little satanic altar while he, is consulting his book of Wicca or whatever, Book of Satan or whatever it is, and he's doing some sort of blood sacrifice to his neighbor's cat, whatever it is. I feel like it is all the same here. And the whole thing here, it talks about get out of her. Well, you know what? I'm just going to speak to the Christian right now, or even the Jew that's practicing rabbinical Judaism. Maybe you need to kind of relook your religious system and say, what is true here? Because rabbinical Judaism was created to basically counter the fear that the Jews were going to flock to Jesus after they crucified him. Because, that was a pretty unique event. You look at the crucifixion of Jesus, I mean, God forbid there was an earthquake. Not only an earthquake when he died, but the tombs were open and there were actual Old Testament saints that were resurrected and walking around when Jesus died. Now, that would make me convinced that, oh my gosh, we made a mistake. We might have accidentally murdered the wrong person here. Maybe he was in fact the Son of God. Oh my, look at what we just did. Well, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm certain that the religious leaders of those days had to kind of backtrack and really kind of change things up. And especially when, you got your Roman guard that's guarding the body and they're fast asleep. When the women appear in the morning to kind of anoint him with oil, fast asleep, and guess what? The body's gone. Completely gone, and there's no explanation for it, so there's a lot of things that happened, and of course they're going to kind of try to come up with something because God forbid they don't want to lose their power in being the religious leaders of that particular religious system. So voila, hello, from that stem we have rabbinical Judaism. So anyways, I digress off of a rabbit hole. But I'm going to say there's the same going on in the churches today. If you want to call Mystery Babylon Freemasonry, I'm going to say maybe at the elite top. There are plenty of people that are, I'm going to say, disillusioned with Masonry. And, there's a lot of Christians that even practice Freemasonry. But I think, when you get to the nuts and bolts of it and the people that are kind of at the top of that system, they pretty much know what they're doing. People on the bottom levels may not necessarily know. But I think it all kind of goes back to something that is other than Yahweh or Jesus. And I would tend to say that, look at the writings of Aleister Crowley or Helena Blavatsky. There's so many of them I can say. What was his name? There's a lot of different Freemasons out there that have done writings. There was I want to say it was Seventh-day Adventist guy, Walter Veith. He was doing a lot of his own study, and he was kind of revealing things in the Roman Catholicism, but also in Freemasonry, where it kind of fit into this beast system. And I'm saying, yeah, he had a part of it. And you got to realize, not saying all of these pastors are off when they give their particular view on the subject. I kind of feel like this whole thing's like puzzle pieces, right? And we get like one puzzle piece and we put it together with another puzzle piece and another puzzle piece. And I got it. And I'm going to say I've all had elements of truth to it, but the bigger picture, the bigger puzzle, I really feel is this occult system that has infiltrated. And there are elements and all of these things that these previous people have said, whether you look at their political views and the things that they value. I mean, if you want to talk to people that are trying to skew how God defined creation in Genesis 1, how he defined or utilized, we'll say even Adam and Eve and the first marriage being kind of a representation of God's covenant with man and how God wants relationship with man and you know, and how that has been skewed, or how God created sexuality, or how that has been skewed. You know, all of this feeds into this system with these entities, because the ultimate thing is they have a hatred. They have a hatred towards God. They have a hatred towards the image of God, the image of God that was created in man. And it goes back even to the Adam, you know, looking at the word Adam. I actually saw something yesterday on social media where there was a guy, I'm not too sure who he was, it's some African-American guy. And he broke down the word Adam in Hebrew. And there's a bunch of people like, oh, this is fake, this is false, da-da-da-da-da. Well, no, it hasn't, because you guys haven't really looked at the Paleo-Hebrew of the meaning. You haven't really understand the Jewish roots of their alphabet system. They don't understand that an aleph constitutes two yods and a vav. Well, if you look at the pictorial meaning of, let's say the vav is a hand. The yod, that represents a tent peg or a nail. So we have a hand and two nails in the aleph, which is sometimes a shortened version of when the Jews think of God, because the aleph is also an ox head, or the head. And a lot of times people saw God as the aleph, or the head. So, yeah, Adam, the aleph, God. And then, let's see, Dalet Mem. Dalet Mem in Hebrew is basically the word for blood. And of course, the life is in the blood. That is why there's a sacrificial system. The life is in the blood. The animal is sacrificed. The blood sacrifice covers the sin. The life is in the blood. And so even with Adam, the creation of Adam, it all points to God, that we are created beings in the image of God. The image of God, the aleph, is in man, and we are given the lifeblood. And so even right there from the beginning, and you have to realize that Satan or Hasatan or whatever little names they have associated with Satan or his fallen angels and all these external apocryphal books that are out there, there's a hatred towards God, and there's a hatred towards his image bearers that they want to destroy. There's a lot of jealousy there. They thought they were it, and then God created man, and then they were really upset because they weren't like man in any sort of way. God created them, but they weren't his image bearers. We are. So you have to kind of realize that this hatred runs deep. There's a lot of destruction. They want to be better than God. They think they're going to win in the end, but they aren't, because, you know, God knows all, and he knew the beginning from the end. And right now we're starting to experience the end. We are living in the last days. We're living in the end of the age. Since Israel popped itself back up on the map, since God resurrected a people over 2,000 years of getting dispersed through the nations, resurrected a dead language, Hebrew, you know, and they were put back in the land, and there have been things coming to pass. You know, those dry bones of Ezekiel 36, guess what? They've risen again, and they formed a nation in the Middle East, and the nation is Israel. And not only that happened, but, you know, we're starting to see everything line up with the nations that come against Israel in Psalm 83. We're starting to see everything line up with Ezekiel 48 and 49. I mean, it's all happening. I mean, we're seeing all of this line up. Those ancient players, if you go back and look at the histories of these players and who they are, you know, you're going to see that these folks are the same people groups. And, you know, the Bible in the Old Testament talks about that there are certain entities that are over certain geographical locations. The book of Daniel speaks of this, where Michael was battling one of these entities. And there is a spiritual war. There's a spiritual battle that goes on. And these entities are present. And I really feel like there is an entity over the United States. And it very much seems like a Jezebel spirit today, especially with all the confusion going on, all the confusion with our kids, all the self-harm, all of that. Because you have to kind of also realize that back in the day, people self-harming, cutting on themselves, guess what? That was a form of their worship to their God. And guess what? We have a generation of youth today that are so confused about who they are. They don't know which gender they are. They don't know what their sexuality is. They're depressed. They're anxious. They're self-harming. They're suicidal. Some of them are hearing voices, command hallucinations to go do X, Y, Z. And we kind of wonder why. Well, you know what? I kind of feel like the pit of demons is kind of unleashed on our society because America's turned away from God. We took God out of schools. We took God out of our political system. Not saying that it was fully Christian to begin with. Let's face it. I mean, the founding fathers, a bunch of Freemasons, you know, not all of them were Christian people. I mean, look at Washington, D.C. I mean, that is pretty much a monument to the pagan deities, especially the rotunda of the Capitol building, if you have known about the mural up there. But yeah, that's my take on the idea of Mystery Babylon. Is it possible that there could be a particular political figure that is kind of the face of this, being the woman riding the beast? Yeah, that's possible. But I feel like this whole beast system, I just told you what it was. It is the occult religion, the pagan religion that is contrary to Yahweh and Yahweh's law and what Yahweh tried to establish on this planet. So anyways, God bless. Have a good day. And I'm certain I'm going to be back looking at another book of Revelation here in the future. Actually, I got to do the whole book. And I'm starting off in chapter 17 and 18 because I woke up in the middle of the night and something hit me. And here I am talking to all of you. But anyways, God bless. Till next time.